What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. Market just closed about 30 minutes ago, but I want to give you a quick overview of some of the current data points, what really moved SoFi today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. Starting off, SoFi did go down 1.38%, so it kind of settled on a very strong support. So I'll talk on that once I go over the technicals. After hours, this going down slightly, but not much volume to really kind of talk about. Today though, as a whole, 19.2 million shares were traded, 34.8 is the average. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So you do see some pretty big ones. And like I've said, I think that should be the same occurrence throughout this whole week, as a lot of ETFs and institutions do rebalance their portfolios because this is the last week in Q2. So you should see a lot of this happen, but nonetheless, clearly it's not enough to really move the stock price in the upward direction. So something to kind of consider. Today there was no news, no SEC filings, nothing like that. So it was kind of just piggybacking off the broader market. Banks, if you want to consider it that way, we're pulling back today. So I guess Wall Street wanted to count SoFi as a bank, unfortunately. But as I mentioned in the options activity yesterday, you can kind of tell just people did not believe that SoFi essentially was going to stay at those levels. So I think in reality, there was more of a pullback anticipated, which is kind of unfortunate. But then again, we already do generally know what happens with SoFi. Even myself, this time around, I did hedge a little bit. So I sold some covered calls at 650 just in case, but we'll wait and see based on GDP and PCE what does come out Thursday and Friday this week. Looking at shorts though, they didn't really do all that much. So they did increase 89,000 shares. 17.8% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 184.8 million shares overall are being shorted. Looking at the intraday, you can kind of see it was absolutely flat. They didn't do jack all. This kind of blue dotted line was from yesterday. So you can see after hours, this is where shorts did increase a significant amount. So I think this kind of fell under the radar quite significantly as well. And one thing I just wanted to bring to your attention is that the available shares currently sitting at 6.6. So that has gone up. For the longest time, it was sitting around about 4 million, and so now it is 6.6. So it is fair to assume that a large entity did buy into SoFi, and that large entity tends to lend out their shares. So possibly BlackRock or Vanguard did recently increase, and obviously it could be correlated with last Friday, the big bump up in volume. Of course, there was quadruple witching day, and also most likely at least some institutions already starting to rebalance. So it looks like BlackRock/Vanguard did increase, but we'll just have to wait and see when they do submit their 13F. Looking at this, so today 2.91 million in calls, 780 in puts. Sentiment wise, 46% of all the options being done today were optimistic and bullish. Of the call options, there's more of an anticipation for it to be around that 650. Even looking at the open interest, you do see that very strong wall once again. So it's kind of interesting how it almost does increase like at a 30 to 40% rate every single day. And this is actually the problem. So it's just a very vicious cycle, right? The sentiment, people do not believe that SoFi is going to hold any gains. So at the same time, typically when shorts do increase, they're also hedging their bets just in case SoFi does go up. And then at the end of the day, by Thursday and Friday, you have market makers trying to suppress SoFi below these key strike prices. It's just a very, very vicious cycle. So right now, 31,000 in open interest at that 650 strike price, 25,000 at the 7, then 45,000 at the 750. Like I've said, hopefully, we do get some clear indication that there will be rate cuts, possibly for the September meeting. And I think that might be the next big determining factor to really push SoFi higher. Once again, I could be wrong about that. Just to give you a quick overview of where it's currently at. So for the September 18th meeting, it did go down slightly. So I brought this up, I believe, in my video yesterday. So yesterday was at 61. So now there is a 59.5% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. So something to kind of consider. And with it closing at $6.45, like I mentioned, it did pretty much land on this S2. So a very strong support. So $6.45 will be kind of the point to watch for in the next couple of trading days. Elliott wave technicals are still pointing for SoFi to kind of hit the low sixes. So definitely, like I said, watch this S2. On the flip side, $6.69 is going to be the next strong resistance, and that's not counting that 650 man-made resistance by the options. So SoFi, again, does need to get their crap together. Hopefully enough institutions do really acknowledge that SoFi is profitable, and they will continue to be profitable in the coming quarters. And so hopefully that does kind of drum up some buying a little bit. On the actual chart itself, still lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. Stochastic, you do see a start of a nice bullish deviation. It is still very oversold. So if there's something specific to SoFi that does come out, let's say maybe Anthony buys, or there's some acquisition or something along those lines, because SoFi does have quite a lot of cash, they could do something that could really drum up some buying once again. And number of retail investors, oddly enough, were getting out today. I'm not really sure why, so let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Give yourself a shout out in the comments below if you did buy, if you sold, or whatever the hell you did. Did you guys do options, and if so, what strike price? With that, I appreciate all of you guys watching, and let's eventually make a lot of money on SoFi.